If it was a trap, it was a tasty one. I sat at a table with Zephyr and sampled the new dish, a surprisingly decent sushi platter, much better than their attempt at pasta the month before. It was all alien ingredients and cooked seafood with nary a sign of raw earth fish. As far as I was concerned, that made it better. No amount of assurances of its safety would make me feel comfortable risking parasites from a meal they'd only been making for a week. It even tasted a bit like crab, which was impressive given the fact that no rockback fit for polite society would harm their world's version of crabs. The capital city of Cecil Haven was named after the bay, which housed many of the things. Apparently, some turtledillo in prehistory had looked at the little beasties with armor like their own and decided they were sea souls. I didn't know if they were aware that humans ate similar creatures on our own world, but I wasn't going to be the one to tell them. "That's good," I said to the waiter. "It reminds me of a restaurant back home that substituted ingredients. Tell the cooks well done." He left with a smile and a lift of his beak that translated to a polite bow. I'd found it funny when I learned that turtledillos bow in the opposite direction from humans, but it made sense when I thought about it. For us, bowing puts our heads low and our posture at a disadvantage in battle. For them, raising their chins bared their less armored underbellies. Science. Zephyr wasn't interested in science and barely in the food. He watched the fancy room anxiously for Lumi, though we'd hardly been there a few minutes. The cooks had made my food first, as they always did. I felt guilty for jumping the line, but none of the other diners begrudged an alien visitor a short wait time. One of the perks of being human here, an arrangement that would hopefully not unravel completely before we could do something about these smugglers. A noise from Zephyr made me look up. I followed his gaze to see the proprietor of the restaurant approaching, serene as ever. She had her pet with her, a bright yellow ribbon of fur draped around her neck that looked like an animated feather boa with aspirations of becoming a ferret. I'd met him before on my other visits, and he was always a joy. "Honored guests," Lumi said, pulling out a chair to sit with us. "Hello, Lumi," I said. "Hello, Brainless." The featherwhip replied with a squeak that was just this side of too high-pitched to hear, and scratched with one tiny foot at a stubborn blue patch in his yellow leg fur. "Did somebody help with the painting?" Lumi chuckled. "That's one word for it. I was going to have a new seascape for the back wall, but it'll take some touching up now." She craned her long neck to look fondly down at Brainless, who was still scratching away at the paint in his fur. "He's due for a trim anyway. And how did you like the new dish?" I said polite things about it while Zephyr made a masterful effort at not exploding with impatience. While I was anxious too, maintaining a calm front was part of the required skill set for representing Earth. I did my best to be as relaxed as Brainless, who gave up on the paint and flopped across Lumi's shoulders. Not a speck of color was out of place on Lumi herself, not even in the near-invisible seams of her shell ridge alterations. She'd apparently hatched a tertius instead of a tertia, though that was no more than an interesting factoid now. "So," Lumi said with a dramatic pause, "I'd like you to fix something for me." "What kind of thing?" I asked. Zephyr straightened up eagerly. "The kind of thing that is exotic and broken," Lumi said evasively, "which you are likely to know something about." I frowned a little. "I can't say yes if you don't tell me what it is," she smiled. "I'm sure the why is more important." "Okay, why?" Lumi cast her eyes sideways. "Your friend here is 7 flavors of furious at smugglers in general. Are they also an enemy of yours?" I spoke slowly. "If they caused the current animal crisis, then yes, absolutely." "I understand they did," Lumi said, "and fixing this broken thing of mine will be the start of their end." "Why me?" I asked. "Why not go to someone official?" Lumi looked at me directly. "This may be hard to hear, but I don't trust the officials. I know too much." I sighed, then took a deep breath. I get the distinct feeling that agreeing to look at this mystery thing could get me in the kind of trouble that would have me shipped back home in disgrace. "Illegal, yes?" Lumi spread all 4 palms, lined up along the table's edge. "I promise you it is not. You'll understand once you see it." Zephyr caught my eye. "It can't hurt to look, right?" I looked back at Lumi. Can you really promise me that I won't get in trouble for being part of whatever you refuse to tell me? There's no risk here, Lumi insisted. Just a small thing that is broken, which can help expose the villains if fixed, and I don't trust the official repair people. But you trust me, who just eats at your restaurant. There was that smile again. And who works on a foreign world, passing every test your people have devised. Okay, fair point. Zephyr made good puppy dog eyes for a guy who looks like a turtle. Please, just see if you can fix it. Against my better judgment, I said, all right, fine, I'll take a look at it. Just promise me that this is legal. It is. But you still won't tell me what it is. I distrust the listening ability of the people who can make their vehicles invisible. Okay, that's fair too. Lumi pulled a card from the belt pouch that blended in with her scales. This is the location of where to meet my friend, she said. He will escort you to the item. She showed both of us the address written there. Can you remember it? I nodded. Yes, Zephyr said with a vicious clack of his beak. Then be there tonight when the glow flowers bloom, Lumi said. A poetic way of saying the equivalent of 9 p.m. back home. Those glow flowers were all over the city. I spent a moment wondering if the rabbits would get sick from eating them, then put the thought away so I could say goodbye to Lumi. Enjoy the rest of your meal, she said. Thank you, we will. And we will be there, Zephyr declared. Lumi just smiled and glided toward the door, with Brainless settling into sleep. I wondered if she'd meant to invite Zephyr along with me. Well, this was shady enough that I wouldn't object to having backup. Such as it was. I'll bring my knives, he whispered across the table. I have a collection. Nobody will get away with double-crossing us tonight. I'll be glad to have you with me, I told him honestly.